What up, Eagle Talk fam?
What's up, guys? We are back, episode 122.
Yes, episode 122, where we are going to talk about 5 reasons why you are unhappy.
I think this is actually a good episode going into the new year.
It is. It's a great episode going into the new year. And listen, before we got started, I had Corey cracking up. I don't know if y'all have seen that that reel where the white lady is walking up. She's like, surprise, surprise. So listen, happiness is an inside job.
Right.
Surprise, surprise.
It is. There you go. Right. There you go.
Because a lot of us, and I know that I have been guilty of it, is that you look for external things to make you happy. We shared on Eagle Talk for a long time. I put all my happy in a Corey box. And if Corey was not...
How'd that work out for you?
It didn't. It didn't. I had to realize that, you know what? Yeah. And not that you don't make me happy, right? Not that we don't have happiness together, but I can't be dependent on you. And we just really talked through, 5 reasons why we think that you just might be unhappy. So here we go.
I think the first one is you may not be happy because of your environment. I think we've talked about that numerous times on here. And again, not that Texas is the it all be all of this is where you have to come. But I just think that sometimes switching it up is a game changer. And it helps you just see another side of the world, right? Or the country.
Yeah, so when you talk, I think that this one can go a lot of different ways. So Corey's referring to, we made the big shift in 2014. We relocated from Illinois to Texas. And that change of environment was life-changing. We actually were playing a question game the other night. And it said, what about you changed in the last 10 years? And I laughed because I was like, everything changed. Yeah. Like what I do changed, where I live changed, the way I think changed, who I hang out with, my career. Yeah. And it all started with environment. But literally, let's just say we know that is not feasible for everyone, or everyone isn't looking for that type of a change. But can you just shift? Maybe it's where you're working, right? Maybe you need to shift that environment. Maybe you honestly just need to go out for a walk. There have been plenty of times that, I've been, in the house working or just in the house doing whatever, and literally getting outside, shifting my environment, walking around or taking a trip or doing something like that, it really shifts your mood. And I want to just emphasize, we're not saying like running away from whatever you're dealing with, right? Because, you can go on vacation. Anybody ever been sad on that last day? And
you're coming back to the same problem.
Yeah, you come back to the same problem. So that's not what we're not talking about, just shifting your environment to kind of run away, but like literally shifting where you are, because it can make a difference. And for us, one of the biggest ones, man, was when we moved. But I can even think about, there have been plenty of times where you're like, hey, I just need to get outside and move my body and do things like that to really help regulate some of my thoughts.
Yeah, I think the environment piece is actually bigger than many people think it is.
It's huge.
To be honest with you. And it might not be a whole relocation story. Yeah. Right? It could be just relocating from one side of town to the other.
Exactly. Or going to a different job. Yeah. Or if, if this is your normal Starbucks, you go to a different one. I think that a lot of times we discount how, not toxic is such a strong word, but sometimes we discount how toxic the environments that we are in are, like what they do to our mental health. But then we also, I think, discount, like, let's just say it's not toxic. Like nobody is throwing daggers of you at work or where you live, but it's just mundane, We were riding, we stayed at a hotel last night, and we were riding into the office today. And I just told Corey, like, one thing that I love is like everywhere I look, it's built, somebody's building something. Yeah. Like there's always consistent movement, and just seeing all of that movement around me, it makes me want to get out and do something, right? Like, why I don't want to just be doing the same old thing all the times. And sometimes when you get in the right rooms, when when you shift up your ordinary, when you go places where you haven't been before, just the culture of the environment will inspire you to do something different. So That might be why you unhappy, because
Well, okay, so let me go off that. You use the word mundane, right? The next one I was going to speak on is complacency. And hear me out. I don't think that all times. Okay, I'm an extremist, right? I'm either going to go all the way left or all the way right.
Yeah.
I don't think that at all times it has to be this major leap or this major jump. I think that you can make a decision to say, hey, I think I'm a little too comfortable here.
Exactly.
Right? Or I had a conversation with somebody recently. I was like, let's look over your life over the last 3 years. Like, what's different? And like 98% of the things was the same.
The same, yeah.
Whether it was, their body type, the haircut, the job, the car they was driving, whatever it was all just in a real comfortable state.
Yeah.
To where I was just like, hey, let's just switch some small things. And that could be to the type of gym shoes you decide to wear. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like it could just be something just to kind of get you out of the normalcy of who you have been for the last 3 to 5 years, right? Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely makes sense. Like the same old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, and I don't know, like Corey and I, I'm in my early 40s. He in his mid 40s. Wait, side note, we were somewhere yesterday and I was saying somebody had a 50th birthday. And Corey was like, man, I can't believe they 50. And I was like, player, you 45.
He was like, you be 50 in 5 years. I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
It doesn't seem like that. Y'all on YouTube, tell me, don't my man look good? He don't look like he gonna be 55 years.
I appreciate that.
But the point is that I think that, you have the things that you like, right? And you have your preferences. And before you know it though, sometimes we can be so staunch. Am I saying that word right? I don't know. Like we can be so rigid with what we like that we are not showing any flexibility, and you wonder why, you kind of bored. You don't have nothing to look forward to, but like you've been to Vegas 37 times and ain't been nowhere else, right? So we become complacent, like this is just the way that we do it. And like Corey is saying, sometimes making the smallest change can add some vibrancy to you. I'll tell you one for me, and this may seem silly, but I know my homegirls, y'all gonna understand. For the longest, and Corey, I don't know if you like this about me, if you don't like it.
I'll tell you.
Okay. He gonna tell me. But for the longest, y'all, I steered away from color in my wardrobe, color in my makeup, color in my nails. And I would always get like tan. I would just wear lip gloss. But then one day, like it started with Corey's raising his hands. It started with the nail colors, right? I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start exploring nail colors. Then I got my colors done, which is a whole other thing where you figure out what colors look better on you. But now, like, if I walk out the house with just lip gloss on, some days I do, but like, I feel like pink lipstick or red lipstick, it makes me feel more alive. And just that small change of not being complacent and doing the same old thing, because that's what I've always done. I feel like it lightens up my face. It makes me happier to just literally go and play in. And I'm still not a makeup person where all I know how to do is put on some mascara and a bright lip. But just the fact that I've gotten outside of my comfort zone, it makes me feel happier when I see myself, when I have bright colors. How you feel about the bright colors?
Okay, so at first it was a little much, but let me tell you why. No, right. Seriously, because the teacher in you had 3 shades, right?
Yeah.
That you wore most of the time, and then I remember you asked. It's weird that you even asked about color lipstick, and I was like, go for it. Let's see what happens.
No, it's not weird though, because I wanted to see, like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's
a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it wasn't for my permission. It was
more
for
you. It was totally for your permission.
No, I don't think so. I think it was more for just my opinion. Like, what do you think if I did X? But let me make the point. Yeah. The point is, throughout the years, whether it's the green shirt you got on now or the blue shoes you got on now, right? I think it was maybe even a surprise for you. It's more of your personality. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, so exactly. It demonstrates, like, I am a bubbly, outgoing person, and I was muting myself.
Right. Yeah. As opposed to sitting here in some lip gloss and a tan pantsuit with some, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So no, I've adapted to it. I love it. It's who you are. and that's great. But what I'm sitting here thinking about is that our third piece, and I hate to go to it because I know we're gonna spend a little bit of time on it.
Yeah.
On why you're not happy, or potentially one of the reasons, is because scrolling.
Ooh.
This social media piece is so dangerous, and I'm gonna tell you what just happened.
It's a gift and a curse.
Well, let me tell you what just happened to me.
Okay.
When this was in here setting up, I was running some comps on the deal, and whatever reason I pick up my phone and I'm going to Instagram. And I'm looking on my phone, and the EYL boys, Charlemagne the God, Steve Harvey, and let's just say one or two other people had dinner in Dubai last night. And I'm looking like, damn, it's looking like they having an amazing time. Then it clicked. I was just in Dubai 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Now, it don't look like that.
Yeah.
But at least I was able to have the Dubai experience, right? Yeah. So it's not an imposter syndrome, but it was just kind of like, no, but
it's natural. It's that for a lot of times social media, what it does is it's that natural twinge of, oh, I wish it was me.
Yeah, but I think for me in that state, it was almost heightening their experience but discounting our experience.
Exactly.
You follow what I'm saying? Like, even though I had been there, right, had the experience, it wasn't to that level, but it was like, oh man, I got to go back and do it like that, you know. So I think that that gets a little weird to me when you see people doing what you think is real on social media.
What you think is real, and it probably is real. Like, I don't want to discount it. So it's interesting that you say that, because I was looking on social media today too, right? And there was a post. I'm in like all these different mom groups. So there was a post in a mom group, and the poster said, you know, they live in Frisco, Texas. Like, I've been living in Frisco, Texas, and I look on social media and I see all these friend groups, you know, they're having Friendsgiving and they're traveling together and they're doing this and they're doing that. And, you know, I've been living here 15 years and I don't have these type of relationships. And I'm wondering if something is wrong with me. And she just went into a rhetoric, right? And then there were all of these different comments, you know, even comments of people saying, well, most of them groups are like swinger groups, and you know, just all these different like, can they just be friends that travel together? Why does it have to look like that? But my point is that sometimes we can look on social media and see the way that other people are living their lives, and because number one, I don't care how real people are. I feel like me and Corey are very real on the internet. But a couple weeks ago when we was beefing, I promise you we went on stories. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Talking about our
whatever
conflict at that moment, right? So number one, it's everyone's highlight reel. But number two, even if they're highlight reel, because I do think that sometimes we want to discount it, like, well, their life ain't really like that. Even if that really is what their life look like all the time, it doesn't mean like your life isn't great, right? Unfortunately, even with ourselves, you can get so caught up in looking at what other people are doing that you can totally miss out on your own life.
Yeah.
Right? There have been so many times. I remember us talking to a family member once, and they were like, you know, this is my escape. But unfortunately, that escape sometimes will you know, plant so many seeds of doubt, so many seeds of negativity that it's hard to come back from it. And I literally, y'all know, I use social media a lot for business, but you can get caught. I mean, the algorithm it's a drug, right? It knows how to continue to keep us there, how to feed us what we want to see. We can waste a lot of time. That's one of my things. Like, I think that if I have to look at why I may find myself feeling unhappy, is that I waste a lot of time on social media. I start off working, but then I end up scrolling. So I literally had the thought today, like, you know what? For 2024, I think I'm going to have a phone, like my regular phone I keep with me. I don't think I'm going to put any apps on it. And then I'm just going to have another phone that is where I do business and social media is at. To have some boundaries around it, because it really can, for even when you are living, you've been to Dubai, but looking at that online made you feel like, oh man, you know. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of us spend so much time you know, it starts off innocently, but it's planting so many seeds of doubt and discontentment in our own hearts that it's hard. You know, it's breeding ground for the enemy to just turn us away from what God wants us to do with our own lives.
Okay, so I love that you said that, and I'm gonna tell you why. it goes back to it goes to the fourth point, which is self accountability, right? So if you are, if
Or
you,
lack of self accountability is why we aren't happy.
right, but here's my point on this part. If you are thinking, if you're willing to drill down far enough to say, hey, I'm getting lost in the weeds of social media, I'm going to consider getting two phones, right, to separate the business and the personal time. And you may not get two phones. You might have your work phone and just do your apps on an iPad, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. The point that I'm making is it's a accountability space, right? And we talked about that plenty of times with groups and mentors and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that it's real important, at least for me, to be able to first identify it.
Yes.
Now,
we got to identify what the thing is and where do we have to check ourselves.
Right. So once you identify, because that's work. That's a certain level of work that a lot of people aren't willing to do. Because in my experience at 45 years old, thank you for reminding me again.
Anytime.
We have years where we give ourselves a pass.
Yeah.
Right? Or we give ourselves give that rope a lot of slack when it should be tightened up.
Yep.
And that's, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but this is one of the reasons why I love learning. Because I can sit here and say I'm being accountable to myself, but I can also sit here and take a Friday evening and a Saturday and say, what are people at a higher level doing to stay accountable? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I'm looking at it. So going back to the self accountability.
You know what? I think that the self accountability piece is such a huge one because, and we started off talking about this in the beginning of the episode, is that a lot of times when we are not happy, we like to point to outside factors, right? It could be your husband, it could be your job. Y'all know it's the people on my job, it's the real estate market, it's these kids, it's these loud neighbors, everything else, right? We give ownership, and we honestly are giving up the control to our happiness. And number one, I'm going to go even all the way back and say, I think happiness is a fallacy, right? We just need to live in a constant state of joy. But that self-accountability piece, we did a goal setting workshop. And one of the reasons that he said people have ineffective goals is that we're not real with ourselves about ourselves, okay? And the toughest thing is it's almost easy to be accountable to somebody else, which is why I do believe you need people around you, right? Like let people know what you're working on so that they can ask you or walk alongside you. But at the end of the day, we definitely have to like have some resolve. Like how bad do you want this end result? And it's not always things. So I'm gonna give y'all one for me. When I look at my goal setting or when I look at, things that I want to be proud of, I'm on a path where I'm like, alcohol just really does not serve me, right? I don't know if I'm gonna never ever drink again, but just right now, I'm like, it doesn't serve me. And I've been here before, right? I've been here before where I've had this conversation with myself. But in the heat of the moment, when it's time to make a decision on whether I'm going to drink or not, what do? Well, what did I do for a long time? Oh, because it was the weekend, or because I was hanging out with friends, or because X, Y, and Z, I have a cocktail. And then guess what? Now I feel guilty or I feel bad about me. Not necessarily about the act of drinking, but because I didn't hold myself accountable.
It's almost like you let yourself down.
I let myself down, right? I didn't hold myself accountable to the standard. And I can't blame, I could look and blame and say, well, Corey, I didn't want to drink and, he poured me a glass of wine, or, this person invited me to brunch. No, in the moment I have a choice. And I'm about 2 months in now where I haven't been drinking. I actually had a situation a couple days ago. I stopped in to have lunch by myself, and I was at lunch by myself at a restaurant that I absolutely love their espresso martinis. And it was the day before a holiday. And I had a moment where like, I was like, should I order it? Because really ain't nobody gonna know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I have to come home and tell you that I had and not that you would judge me or care, right? But in that moment, I had to be accountable to myself and say, right now you're on a path just to see what it looks like if you don't break this promise to yourself, right? And for me right now, the promise is alcohol. Maybe next month the promise might be, don't eat bread, or maybe the promise is travel. I don't know what it is, but in that moment, I left that restaurant feeling happy, right? I had that feeling of happiness because I decided, like, a lot of times we will break promises to ourselves and then feel bad about it, but we won't break promises to other people. If you tell your kid or your friend or your coworker that you're going to do something, you will actually do it. But when it comes down to us, we don't give ourselves that same respect. So self-accountability is a big one to find some joy.
Okay. I remember when you were leaving and you called and you said you didn't have the drink. I wasn't, first of all, I wasn't surprised that you didn't. But second of all, it's almost like, I don't want to say you beat you, but you were so.
No, sometimes you got to beat you.
Yeah. Mentally, you were tougher than the temptation. So kudos to you for winning that battle.
Oh, thank you.
The last one that I'll give, I think that everybody, most people, have an issue overcoming, and that's procrastination. I don't think that we realize how much we procrastinate on big and small things. Yeah. So we were at the Kirk Franklin concert last night, and they made the room, 11,000 people stand up.
Yeah.
And they asked us, I don't remember the exact question.
It was like, what will you overcome?
Okay.
Like what is a demon or a devil or something in your life that you're going to overcome?
And my answer was, I didn't even think about it. It was just procrastination. And that's because I now understand. There's a couple things I understand. We did the ish, 75 hard ish.
Yeah.
Right? Where we did the no drinking and the reading and the exercise.
Yeah, it's a couple episodes back. We'll talk about
it.
We'll link it so y'all can see it.
Why I was able to say procrastination in that moment is because in that 30, and I'm pretty productive in my opinion.
Yeah.
In that 30-day span between the 1st and the 30th, I think I had a glass of wine on Halloween. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. I got more done in those 4 weeks than probably I did
the whole year.
Pretty much. Right.
Because now the normal things that were buffers were removed.
Yeah.
So it helps zone in.
All the way down to, and if anybody has watched this, this our fourth year. I used to talk about how I don't come to bed till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
And you have improved, y'all.
Right.
Eagles,
so
y'all need to know that.
Okay. So that
was
was
coming to bed and waking up early.
That was the biggest thing for me during that 30-day period was maybe I can conquer this. Right. And I'm it's not, 10:30, but
it's better.
It's
better.
Quarter to 11,
every day.
I'm down, and I switched from working out at 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. That's been a huge game changer in my production and with me procrastinating on doing things that I either needed to get done or did not feel like doing because I was up late, right? So that's a big thing going into 2024 is less procrastination. Definitely more self accountability with groups or whatever it is, but I think those number 4 and number 5, those two small changes would be a huge difference in what life looks like.
It is huge. And even when you talk about the procrastination piece, right? I know y'all, this kind of go back to number 3. Have you ever seen somebody, and we just had a conversation about this, that you will see them promoting something or doing something, you'd be thinking like, what, you selling a course?
Right.
like you got a mentorship but listen, they went for it, right?
Yeah.
But here we are, we mad, we in our feelings. Now you jealous on social media because, you know what I'm saying, you didn't get on a date nap and meet your husband. Or you didn't, you know what I'm saying, or you didn't go for that job interview, or that you thought that you were not qualified even though you knew you had the sauce. And then you have somebody else who, probably does not have all of the credentials that you have, but the difference is that they went for it. They press go. And even if go doesn't get you a million percent ahead of where you are, it gets you going. And that is something. So y'all, I think that's all we have for you for today.
But super important episode going into a new year, just a new time.
Yeah.
Where people want to do more and get more out of life. And really, take the bull by the horns and be able to come back 11 and a half months later and see some results.
So again, y'all, surprise.
You are the problem.
Surprise. Look, happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
So whether that is, reducing your media intake, whether that is getting a hold of the procrastination piece, all of the different things that we've shared in this episode, we definitely, we know that you can find your happy, but it's not going to come from anything external. It's going to start with you.
Yep. Well, thank y'all for watching. We greatly appreciate it. We're going to see y'all on the next one.
All right, Eagles. Bye now.
See y'all.